thought the Koreans would just dominate this tournament.
Yeah.
But it's not like the Koreans. I don't actually personally feel from casting their games. I don't feel like they're that much ahead of everybody else. It's just a clash of styles.
It's just that everyone is so good at this point. Oh, getting the nerd chills. And of course, no reason to delay anymore. These players are ready. Good luck and have fun. We're going into the first game on Xel'Naga Caverns. It is final day action of the SteelSeries 2010 LAN. So now we have to do the formalities, Dr. Apollo.
If you would like to see oGsTOP take this game down on Xel'Naga Caverns, please make some noise.
And if you would like the stunning Frenchman, Adelscott, to take a win for Europe, give a cheer for Adelscott. And it appears in the top right, we have oGsTOP spawning as the blue Terran. In the bottom left, we have Adelscott spawning as the red Ro8.
And I think oGsTOP is going to go into this game with a very aggressive style. We saw him play against Inca. The first game, when he did play against Inca, was he went for the 3-gate with the Stargate, going for Void Rays into a lot of Zealot Stalkers, warping into the main. And I think we are going to see quite an aggressive build from him again. There's no reason for him not to. He must be feeling pretty confident to take this down. But then again, Adelscott is not a bad player at all. He'll be wanting to try and take this game down. Wondering if both players slept last night thinking about this game. I mean, if I was in Adelscott's position, I wouldn't have slept last night.
Yeah, it's definitely rough to know that you have to go to bed and wake up in the morning to play against one of the players who's made it very far in the GSL. Obviously an extremely talented Terran, but recall from yesterday, Adelscott's very brilliant play against Muslim, the cheese double gateway into Muslim's main, and then transitioning into extremely strong long-term play. So it looks like nothing cheesy coming out from either player. oGsTOP getting his barracks around 12, his refinery at 13, and almost the identical opening in Adelscott's camp.
That's how you can actually determine a good player, is anybody can cheese. Anybody can 2-gate into somebody else's main. But it's the thing that differentiates the players is that who can transition from that and go into the mid and later game. And that's what we did see from Adelscott yesterday.
Second pylon down right now, no cybernetics core, just churning guys into gas. And notice that this is actually the first scout worker that we've seen all game long. I mean, neither player has actually taken any initiative to poke around in one another's bases. Orbital command going down, one Marine popping out. Very, very typical framework, but we're going to start seeing deviations very, very soon.
It's quite interesting that Adelscott hasn't sent out a scouting probe at all yet. Usually, like you have said previously throughout the tournament, is when players feeling a little bit nervous, they tend to scout a little bit earlier just to see what exactly is going on. And he does see, well, I mean, oGsTOP does see the second gas being put down.
Yep.
On the other hand, if we look over in oGsTOP space, are we going to see the factory going down? I suspect we would see that going down right about now. He has got the significant enough gas, but he's not putting it down right now. It's quite interesting. No, he's actually going for a tech lab.
Tech lab going down. You know, this is actually a very, very smart opening from oGsTOP. One of the biggest indicators for any build order is when the second geyser goes down. We see Adelscott has already taken his. We see the 2 gateways coming up. So very likely going to be a 2-gate robo expand or a 2-gate regular expand. We do see this probe shooting out. But I love what oGsTOP is doing. He gets 2 Marines. That is the absolute biggest standard for 90% of Terran openings. So not only can he deny scout, but I mean really there's going to be no hint as to what's going on in the main. And of course the Expo's going down for oGsTOP.
Yeah, this is very Korean style. Korean style is being that they love to play long macro drawn out games.
Oh yeah.
And we are going to see the command center going down, and it looks like Adelscott is sending out a probe and a stalker, though the shells is about to be finished for this Marauder. If he can get a shot onto the stalker, that could be huge. The stalker sees it and does back off though, but the probe is going to move in and see the command center of the timing on that.
Uh-oh, he sees the command center. He's going to begin working away. He's gonna get him. Get him, probe. Adelscott's going to move in there and start zapping away at the prober. There's the Marauder running up. Does get a few shots off. Adelscott knows there is no hope, but of course is going to go dying in battle. There is the tech lab that is just now finished the concussive shell. No stim yet. Wants to get those racks started first. And again, the really fast combat shield. And this backfired for him against Inca.
Oh yeah, that was actually one of his big mistakes, I feel. If he'd gone for stim instead of the combat shields, it would have been a world of difference. And Adelscott, reacting to this fast expansion, actually puts down a nexus of his own. He has to be careful though. Well, not careful, but there isn't scouting SCV just by these bushes on the right-hand side that will be able to move in. I'm not sure if he has seen it though. Yes, he has seen the Nexus actually, so that's very nice by oGsTOP to know exactly what Adelscott is planning.
Yeah, I mean, both these players very comfortable in this situation right now. Adelscott going to rely on this double warp gate, warping in a lot of sentries and stalkers to slice those armies in half. No zealots yet. Doesn't really want to get kited by those marauders. Again, that's part of the reason why marauders do research the concussive shell first. No, players do not like getting stim first because that micro ability against the zealots is so critical. And again, the double reactor to get lots of Marines out. We normally see Marauders against Protoss. What do you think about this one, Dr. D. Apollo?
I think this is pretty safe, especially knowing that your opponent's gone for the Nexus. There's not really a threat of any aggression coming from Adelscott because he has got this Nexus down. He wants to try and get his economy up. So going for the double reactor, even though it does take a long time to get up, in this game, it's going to work well for him. In the previous game when we saw against Inca was going very aggressive, one base style, and it didn't work out too well for him because of the long build time it takes for these reactors to finish.
And it looks like he will get a free probe kill, does take that one down. Camping now at the Xel'Naga Cavern, so important to control those. We do see the robo facility going down for Adelscott by his natural expansion. Now, there's something that I keep saying that for some reason nobody listens to me. Now, that's either because they don't agree or because they're the players and they actually shouldn't be able to hear me at the time of the game. But I really hate when people go for Colossi when they only have 2 or 3 gateways. It's such a risky play. Your army has to stay perfectly tightly packed together. And at the same time, look at this, another reactor going down on the barracks. Such crazy, crazy play from oGsTOP.
That's so many Marines are going to be pumped out. And I guess, well, even though he is going for the robotics facility early, and if he does go for this Colossus, this is going to help out a lot versus all these Marines. We are seeing an Observer being built out, not an Immortal though. The Observer going out to see exactly what's going on in the base, and there we do see the robotics bait being put down.
Yeah, you know, in this one particular circumstance, I guess I'll let it slide. Okay, it's fine to get the Colossus if your opponent's going Mass Marine, but still, there's a huge window right now. Look at all these units coming out right now for oGsTOP, and if we go down to camp, Adelscott, he has a very nice spread of stalkers and sentries at the front, but he has to be so careful because his Colossi den isn't even finished yet. Oh no, and there's the scan. Top looks like he's gearing up to move in.
He's definitely gearing up to move in. Stim is just about to finish. He scans down the Observer, and this could be a lot of trouble for Adelscott. The timing window you mentioned is about to be hit.
And there's the cut with the force field, managing to get a few of those units. Ooh, I don't like that 5th force field that went down. Those sentries do not have that much energy on them. And by that, I mean apparently they still have a ton of energy on them. But it looks like there's the stim, and he's cutting them in half. Beautiful force fields by Adelscott. Needs to be careful. He is getting swung around at the backside, and it looks like this large Marine count is dying. Adelscott does another slice with the force fields, and notice Adelscott continuing to pull back. There's the double stim again from oGsTOP, and Adelscott defends.
He really does defend that extremely well, and that buys him enough time to get the Colossus out. It is almost out now at 70%. And now oGsTOP has to return to his base and start to react to what's coming. I'm pretty sure he knows that Colossus are on the way because of the lack of ground units. All that money has to be put somewhere. Colossus is probably going to be his main guess. And we do see a double starport with double reactors on.
Yeah, you know, this is a very, very clever opening coming up from oGsTOP. Players know how to do things like build a tech lab and then get a Banshee really, really fast. But they make the tech lab built at the barracks or the factory or something like that. But we see these 2 reactors were initially used in the big Marine push, and then he sees the Colossus and immediately swaps over to Vikings and gives all those other barracks tech labs again so he can switch from Mass Marines to Mass Marauders and Vikings. Very, very clever opening by oGsTOP.
oGsTOP actually decided to move down there, then had a perfect scan right on top of the Colossus, was like, okay, I can't do that. So now what he's going to do is probably take down these destructible rocks and get ready to take a 3rd base, as Adelscott has already put his 3rd down in the bottom right-hand side.
Looks like Adelscott is transitioning very calmly. He has 2 Colossi out. Has he even started the range upgrade? No. It is just now begun, so it looks like he will not be able to attack anytime in the near future. There's the command center going down for oGsTOP. Behind his 3rd, there's the scouting factory, always a very strong play. But again, I love whenever a Protoss player does this, advancing with just the Stalkers, the fast, nimble unit of the Protoss force, so we can always pull back effectively.
And a lot of Vikings are in production now, 3 in production. We have a couple out. Upgrades +1 infantry weapons has just been upgraded now. The Forge is only just completed. Nothing has been researched from that, but we do see a Twilight Council going down. Do you reckon that will be for Blink or for Zealot legs?
I would not be surprised if it was for either, to be honest. If you get the Blink, you're really saying, I want to pick your Vikings off very, very easily. Often it's hard to get to those Vikings because of the range 9, but the Blink Stalkers can help them get blunked down. And then, of course, the Zealot with leg speed, so effective against the Marauders. But we do see, again, still a pretty large predominance of Marines in this mixture for oGsTOP.
And surprisingly, Adelscott's going to, well, he's putting down a cannon in his main, which is actually pretty safe, especially when you're advancing deeper into the game. You're getting your natural, you're getting your third down. He's got this cannon there just for protection against any form of drops. And +1 ground weapons is being researched now. Thermal Lance is almost done, but he is going for charge, actually, from the Twilight Council.
I mean, this is part of the reason why I love watching Adelscott play so much, transitioning into this mass gateway army, using the Colossus as a big stepping stone in order to help him get a third. Way too often Protosses will just 2-base Colossus and pray, and just keep making Colossi and only have that as the linchpin of their play. But I mean, very nice play by Adelscott. There's the Planetary Fortress going down by top, and again, equally brilliant in his own right with this very fast double reactor Viking play.
Adelscott really needs to actually move out with a probe or something just to scout out. He needs to know where the third is for top, because he probably guesses a third is coming, but he doesn't know it is on the gold. And the longer that top stays on the gold, it's going to push his economy so far ahead. And Adelscott does have a third, but it is on the blue mineral field, not the gold. And now actually Adelscott moving out with his entire force, whether he's going to take the 4th gold or if he's going to gear up for an attack.
Well, he should definitely take down these destructible rocks no matter what. His Zealot with leg speed is almost done. It's at 120 of 140. He's advancing very rapidly to the Xel'Naga Watchtower, and it looks like he's cutting to the right and then backing off immediately again, trying to force his opponent to get caught off guard. There's the Vikings over the key pit in the middle. No chance of them getting hit by any of those Stalkers, and now it looks like he's moving in for a Colossus snipe.
Oh, great snipe by them Vikings, taking down a Colossus without hardly touching the Vikings. Just 1 Vikings on half health, but very nice snipe. And the gold is, well, he stopped taking down the destructible rocks, will continue to take that down. The thing that I'm looking at oGsTOP's army condition, he doesn't really have that many medivacs. They're kind of key in this role.
Yeah, yeah. And that is, you know, the classic issue whenever you're feeling under pressure. You start getting the forces that are good in middle-ish sizes. Marines, Marauders, Vikings, very good in the middle-sized army, but as that pressure stays on, you feel obligated to keep making them. And now here we have a maxed army from oGsTOP. He can't change his composition anymore. He's committed to this mix, and it's much, much harder to deal with this big Colossus force.
Oh, and his early stim, actually, he comes in here, and that's actually very early, and having to waste a lot of medivac energy, brute force back out. Vikings are coming in just to see if they can get another Colossus sniper. It doesn't really look like it, and Adelscott is going to take a 4th base on this gold.
And it looks like the Storm upgrade is going down as well. oGsTOP is in an increasingly uncomfortable position. He doesn't have enough energy to do any sort of dropping. He has managed to pick off this right side a little bit, but Adelscott is just not mining for the time being. We see a decent amount of kills on those Marines. But, I mean, Adelscott, here comes the stim.
Here comes the stim, and he is going to force a cancel on this Nexus.
Oh.
And actually, I don't even think he canceled it, but he is getting a lot of kills with these Vikings. Taking out the Colossus, got to be super careful, though. These Zealots with charge are going to do a lot of damage.
And he has to be careful. oGsTOP is moving in for the kill, and it's looked like he picks off another Colossus. There's the Storm. And there's another Storm. Oh, no, completely missing. It looks like the Colossi are rapidly falling, and these Vikings, though, are going to be surprised to see that very few Colossi are being reinforced by Adelscott.
Yeah, he's completely switched his tech path now. He's gone for Storms instead of Colossus. A very wise move, seeing out how many Vikings top has it. And it looks like Adelscott is going to go for a counterattack. And there are a lot of Zealots in this mix, and these Marauders are going to get eaten alive.
And here's the big push forward. Pulling back to the Planetary Fortress. A Storm hitting all of his own Zealots. A big misclick. There's more Templar darting forward, running behind the Planetary Fortress. Adelscott is not in a good position to be able to attack, but there's a target fire on the Planetary Fortress. It's getting repaired. It's down into the orange health. He needs to start doing some target firing if he wants to be able to kill it off. But look at this. The Archons and all the gateway units of Adelscott rushing in here, and it looks like top will be able to defend.
And I think that was a bad mistake from Adelscott there, going into that Planetary Fortress. That's exactly what oGsTOP wanted. He moved behind the Planetary Fortress, baiting him in, and he fell for the trap. And then all these SCVs, there were just too many SCVs there for you to even try to consider to take that Planetary Fortress down, and he lost a lot in that transaction.
Adelscott advanced with such a big lead in the early game, playing so well, but top having a mastery over those tactics. And it looks like here's the advance forward, and he's stimming to try to dart up. There are ghosts out on the field now, so EMPs on the High Templar are so critical, but they don't have enough energy for a Storm quite yet, and Adelscott is feeling very dry on resources.
Yeah, and he's trying to take down this fourth base in the left-hand side, but there is a pylon there blocking it from coming down. Once again, another engagement in the middle of the map. A nice EMP there.
Manages to pick off all the energy on those Templar. The Zealots, Stalkers, and Archons are advancing for Adelscott. Marauders continuing to just kite farther and farther away. Adelscott, I just total army disorganization by Adelscott. He had the clear lead and ended up botching it.
And another base has been put down on the right-hand side of the map. Great macro by oGsTOP, just taking all the expansions and really using it well. And that'll just mean he can continue to reinforce his army, but at the same time, both players moving aggressively across the map. And it looks like a kind of a couple of base trades.
And it looks like Adelscott is swinging around to this north base that isn't even really mining in the end. And he takes out the Nexus. Right now, Adelscott is running just on this very, very dry natural, trying to pick off these SCVs at the Planetary Fortress. Adelscott will be able to take out this command center, but still, oGsTOP does have this expo at the right. Does Adelscott even know about it? No, not at all.
So Adelscott must be thinking, that was kind of a nice move by me. I denied this space on the top left, but he doesn't realize that there is one on the right, and that's going to really hurt him as this game goes on, as the food count is showing this 191 to 145, and another engagement onto the Planetary Fortress.
Will he be able to take it out? No, it's at red light. Adelscott retreats a little bit too early. There's a few EMPs going down. The Planetary Fortress is on fire. He has not begun the repair yet. There's the scan to see the retreating forces, and Adelscott is running so low on minerals, needs to take the gold, needs some way of pulling back into the game.
I know he only has 250 minerals right now. He's going to have to stop unit production just so he can get a Nexus up on this gold. They are long distance mining from the gold, and unfortunately for him, this is really hurting him, as the macro from oGsTOP is incredible. 200 maxed out food, has so much resources to continue to remax out. Even if he loses his army and only takes down about 50 food from Adelscott, he can just remax instantly. And here we go. It looks like he's going in to put a few EMPs down.
And he did some key EMPs. It looks like there's no ability to do any psionic storm. There's so many Marines and Marauders darting forward, picking off all these units. It's only Stalkers left. The Marauders are just chewing through all these forces. No storm does anything, and it looks like oGsTOP will clean up this expansion. And there's the GG from Adelscott.
I feel that as that game advanced, at the start of the game, Adelscott played very well. Actually was in the lead for quite a while. The biggest turning point for me was probably when he went for the gold expansion and hit that Planetary Fortress.
Yeah, definitely.
And lost just so many of his units without killing that many. And then from there on, he just slipped away. oGsTOP continued to take expansions around the map and just pulled the game.
And you know, that's a classic issue that comes up in a tournament situation. You saw Adelscott was playing so well when all he had to do was focus on his own base. The timing of his third, the Forge, the Templar Archives, the Zealot with leg speed, so great, but the instant he moved out for that attack, that's when the mistakes started to pile up. No gold, no good storm placement, attacking when he should have been retreating. And that is really something that we actually saw yesterday in Adelscott's first game, but he was able to buckle down on the next two, and he'll have to do that if he wants to advance in the next round.
And it was not like one player was significantly better than the other. It was just mistakes. It was not like both players were going ahead at the same speed, if not Adelscott slightly ahead, but that one crucial mistake cost him that game.